Director Ross Bjork. He joins us here live on set as we're here on day 2 of Ohio State football practice. Ross, thank you so much for the time, buddy. Always great to see you.
Absolutely. Good to see you guys. Sorry to cut in there.
No.
I was testing my headset here.
We're at your house.
Everyone.
We're at your house,
No, this
man.
is great. What a great day. Holy cow.
It's the best. I can say this with complete authority. It's the best weather day we've had in 2025.
Unbelievable. I mean, to have a fall camp, August 1st, to have this
To have football weather.
kind of weather. Boy, I wish I would have had this weather back when I was playing. Back in Kansas, humidity, it was always like, it was either like 100 degrees with no humidity or like 85 and just humidity just soaking, through your body. So our son started 9th grade football practice this morning at 7 a.m.
Okay.
Upper Arlington High School.
Go Bears.
And I told him, I said, you have no idea how lucky you are with this weather.
60?
Soak it in, buddy. So,
I remember.
good to be with you guys. Thank you.
I remember last year when you came on with us, and one of the things that we touched on is it's a very delicate job that you're doing because you have to make sure that you preserve everything that makes this so special, the nostalgia, the warm blanket that is for the state, but also modernize in real time for a college sports world that is coming at you fast.
Right.
You've been on it a year.
Right.
How's it going?
Yeah, I'd say we're still having very similar conversations, right? We're still embracing a lot of this new era, identity of what college athletics is and should be and can be, while at the same time making sure that we understand that this is education. We are going to class as student athletes. They will receive a diploma. Most of our athletes are graduating. We have high graduation rates. And then the economic structure between the athlete and the institution, that's all changing, right? And so it has changed dramatically over really the last 5 years. So we can't forget our mission, our centric values of education, while at the same time more commercial activity, more embracing. I mean, this is the second year we did this. This never happened before where we sold tickets and had sponsor activation and you're monetizing a couple practices, right? And so those conversations are still alive and well. We will roll out some things next week around game day atmosphere at the Shoe, and that'll apply to all of our venues, but obviously the Horseshoe, Ohio Stadium will be the focal point. We're calling it Tradition Evolved.
Nice.
Right? Okay, so tradition, but there's an evolution of things that can happen, and so those things are all being contemplated, all rolling out. It's been an awesome year. I think we've made a lot of progress in a lot of areas. There still needs to be some clarity around kind of structural things around college athletics, and we could have a whole 3-hour show. You guys are on 3 hours?
We go till 3 p.m.
Yeah, we could have
Just
a whole show on
that.
that. So, but no, it's been an awesome year for our family. We love it here. It's just been a great ride, and the journey's going to continue with just college athletics, and Ohio State Buckeyes will be at the forefront.
Are your kids like, so national championship every year? Like you win one year, one in football? Like
yeah,
this is
like,
just kind of
hey, Dad, home playoff game, and then we're going to go to the Rose Bowl, and then we're going to go to the Cotton Bowl, and then that's pretty cool.
Every single year.
And we've been in some big bowl games before, but nothing like that journey. So, I think we spoiled a lot of people, but we'll take it.
What was it? I asked Ryan this yesterday when he was on with us, because last year at this time, we kind of had an idea what it would feel like, but then to actually do it.
Yeah.
As you watched what a 12-team playoff would look like and how we navigated it, as our fans navigated it, our teams navigated it, what did you learn?
Yeah, one, I think we learned that now we have a great template that we can point to, whether it's player sort of durability, right, and having the right kind of depth and the right kind of roster pieces. You have the football pieces of it. We learned a lot about, fan engagement, ticket sales. We were really worried, like, which game would you pick? Okay, if you're a season ticket holder, you pick the home game. Most people did, right?
Sure.
And then am I going to go to the quarterfinals? Rose Bowl, iconic. Hey, am I going to wait till the semifinals? Hope we win against Oregon, and then I think our fans did a great job traveling. I don't think anyone took a weekend off per se overall, and so I think we learned a lot about that piece of it. But we also learned that things can change and evolve. I think we learned a lot about what we can do for home games. We gave some great feedback to the college football playoff. It was kind of weird getting a trophy for winning the Rose Bowl.
So strange,
because there's another game. And, I remember I took a rose stem, and I'm like, Coach Day, here you go.
Has to.
He goes, don't give that to me.
I don't need that right now.
He goes, the job's not finished.
You want a Cotton Bowl? You're like, I'm good for now.
Yeah,
I got something else.
And we gave that feed, do we need a stage, and do we need confetti, and do we need a trophy? And, like, look, you want to celebrate in the moment.
Of course.
But there's another game in 10 days. And so, those kind of things that we learned about it that we'll continue to, process. But no, it was an awesome run, and let's do it again.
I mean, the theme is more. It with everything. And,
yeah.
I heard you talking with Austin and Berm about taking Ohio State football and planting that flag in different parts of the state. And
yeah.
I wonder if there's an idea that it's throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks. If there's been ideas that have come to you and you're like, we're absolutely not considering that. There's no way Ohio State would want to have anything to do with X, Y, or Z. And I think last week, I think it was Michigan football said they're taking a home game to Germany next year. Is that something that you would consider taking Ohio State international?
We have to have 7 home games. We have to at the shoe. That the community deserves it. Our players deserve it. Obviously, economically, we know what happened when we had 6 home games. We did not meet a budget goal for FY24 because we only had 6 home games in 2023. So we would never give up a home game. But if somebody else wants to give up a home game,
of course.
Look, Ireland has been a big draw for a lot of teams. We would absolutely look at that. Again, our brand transcends the state, transcends our country. It's international. We really have an NFL brand value at Ohio State, so we would look at that, but not at the sacrifice, of a home game. We just economically, it just doesn't pencil out.
I got an OHIO at the Louvre once.
See,
yeah.
So we could play in France.
It's international, right?
Yeah, you could play in France. You could play, at the Coliseum and Rome. I mean, we'd come up with all kinds of ideas.
You're going to open with Texas in 28 and a half days. I think it's critical that those games continue to be played.
Right.
Obviously, we know the efforts to try to make it something other than noon. It is what it is from a television partner perspective. But those type of games, to me, are essential for this sport.
Yeah.
But, you also see the other side of it. Like the goal is to get to the playoff. My view of it is that would not inhibit you in any way from making the playoff, win or lose. Where do you stand philosophically?
Yeah.
Because that's something Ohio State's always done.
Yeah. Look, I think we're still mapping out, okay, what do those games truly mean in the total analysis of the college football? Because, look, the goal is to be in the playoff and then win. Obviously, we want Big Ten championships, beat the team up north, of course, all those things. But the biggest prize is the national championship. And so we need to be in the playoff. But, okay, do those games, is it just be 12-0? It doesn't matter who you play. Is it be 11-1? Doesn't matter who you play. If you're going to play those games, they should have meaning. And so what I think we really need to define is, okay, what is the committee looking at? And then you get into the at-large conversation and the AQ conversation. Look, we're a believer that we should go to either 14 or 16 teams in the playoffs. And then we're a believer that, look, the Big Ten and the SEC lead the way, give us these AQ spots, automatic qualifying spots, but then you have to play your way into those spots. So I think there could be a lot more dynamic where the regular season truly matters no matter what, not just we're going to play 3 low-level games, we're going to win 52-3, and we're 12-0 or 11-1, right? So I think those games have to matter. I want to continue those games. But if we're going to have to just beat ourselves up and it's not going to give us any advantage, then I think you'll see a lot of those games go away, and I think that would be a shame. We have Texas the next 2 years. We have Alabama the 2 years after that. Then we have a kind of a break, but we brought Navy in 2029, and then we have Georgia in 30-31. We want those games to stick, and we want those contracts to live out. But the SEC has to make decisions. Do they go to 9 games? I was in that league for 12 years. We talked about it every single meeting, and they still haven't made a decision. So, they have some decisions to make around the structure, but those games matter.
The thing that I think is that makes those games it makes it also important is, and I think this is the thing, and I have some questions for you with some of Tony Petitti's thoughts. We'll get to those in the next segment, but just in terms of Ohio State, we went back and looked at it. In the last 50 years, I think Ohio State in a 16-team playoff would have missed it like 3 times.
Wow.
Like
50 years.
You're always there.
Right.
So, this is the challenge is how do you balance – because this is me talking. That will never be an Ohio State problem needing to be an AQ. In terms of this program.
Right. That's right.
You're going to be fine. You're always going to get in. You're always going to be fine. Versus also because sometimes I feel like the thing that makes this so challenging is what's best for Ohio State isn't maybe always best for all of the Big Ten.
Yeah, look,
Aren't there problems?
I think that's part of the equation, right? I mean, look, selfishly, we'd stay at 4. And probably be okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what the analysis would say the last 50 years
You'd be fine.
with 4.
Just fine.
Be just fine. I think a lot. Yeah.
You know, right? So selfishly, we could stay at 4. We could have 8. We could have 12. Right? We're fine with where we are. But look, I think what we have to do is we have to continue to drive value. If economics are even more at play now, how do we drive value? How do we have more content? Those play-in games would come with risk, right? 1 and 2, I think, would be protected. But if you're the third-ranked team in the Big Ten and you're playing number 6 to get yourself into the playoff, what if you lose that game? Yeah. You know, are you still alive? So it would come with some risk, but I do think for the health of the game, for, content creation, for value-driven propositions as economics become even more discussed in our era, the product is not going to go away. We're going to play games and we're going to go to class. How do we elevate the product around content? And so that's what I'm after. And I think, look, if we do our job right, we're always going to be on the right side of the economic equation and the competitive equation. And so I think we'll be fine. We just need to keep pressing these items.
One more segment? You got one more in you?
I'm good, yeah.
All right, we'll do one more with our guy, the great Ross Bjork, athletic director at Ohio State. We will continue on. Day 2 of practice is well underway out here aside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
When General Sherman marched through Georgia, he was listening to this show.
Use your skills for good, young warrior.
This is Bishop and Friends.
Indeed it is, and broadcasting live out here, day 2 of Ohio State football camp. Athletic Director Ross Bjork joining us out here. Look, I said this, been saying for 2 years now, this is an NFL training camp is what this is, and I told Pantone years ago, I'm like, you ought to just put a hashtag NFLU. Like, that's,
right.
Do that, because that's really what's happened here. This is the way an NFL team runs things. And that, to me, is very interesting because we are getting so close to an NFL model in how we decide a champion. You go to 16 teams, that's part of it. Right. I've always said that, to me, and I know this is probably not how you feel about this, but that contracts and pay for play and the NFL model with salaries, Urban talked about that years ago, Saban did as well. How do you balance what is necessary and a lot of those NFL elements? And you mentioned the education, the diplomas, all of that. And we talk primarily about football, but you got 30-some other sports you're dealing with, too.
35 others, 36 total.
By the way, Florida State's got 8. I mean, it's a totally apples and avocados. How do you balance all that?
Yeah, look, people ask all the time, like, what do you prioritize? All of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that, now for me, I've got to stay focused, right, on, like, big picture things, culture, leadership elements, obviously the making sure the structure financially is all sound and all those kind of things. But look, here's what I think. Look, you can have money conversations, and we're doing that. Look, we will have memos of understanding between the institution and athletes that are receiving revenue share dollars.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That's never happened before. They will also have scholarship papers. That's always happened, right? And so you can have economic discussions. But until somebody tells us that we're not going to those academic buildings, that we're not advising them on degree completion, that eligibility requirements are not part of the ecosystem, the NCAA is still going to manage those things, progress towards degrees, we're going to have graduation rates that tie into all of this. We have a 97% placement rate last year. Those athletes who finish their eligibility, they got a job, they turn pro, or they're going to grad school or medical school or whatever. Those things are going to be celebrated. Look, 99% of our athletes, they want all of those things at the same time. Do they want to make money? Of course. So to me, let's be transparent. Let's be open and honest about this is the new world, but also can't forget. So it's talking, it's showcasing, it's marketing, it's player profiles on academics. It's all the things that we do to make sure that we stay grounded to the mission.
Ross, I want to ask you about enforcement because you saw yesterday the College Sports Commission had updated guidance on NIL. This is the Deloitte Clearinghouse. How do you guys keep or stay or at least try to stay ahead of all of that? As it changes, it feels like every other day.
You're telling me. If
I
you're
guess I'm not telling you anything you don't already know.
I gave a talk at the Columbus Metropolitan Club on Wednesday. Matt Barnes was he interviewed me, and it took an hour to explain all the stuff. And we mainly talked about College Sports Commission, House case settlement, revenue sharing. How does all this work? What does enforcement look like? Unfortunately, look, the settlement got signed late. We thought we'd have clarity in April. Didn't happen until June. Everything was supposed to be up and running on July 1st. We knew it wouldn't be a perfect start, but we thought we'd have more infrastructure. Brian Seeley's the head of College Sports Commission. We've separated the House case elements away from the NCAA, and we'll have a new enforcement entity. Well, they have to hire staff. The rules haven't been published because those have to be approved by the plaintiff attorneys who settled the House case. So we're waiting, and then we had the collective, okay, what can collectives do or not do? If we anchor to valid business purpose, range of compensation, goods and services available to the public, we're still in a gray area. So to me, we'll never promise something we can't deliver.
Sure. Now, we
can't do that. Now, is that enforceable?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Do we see different? Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes there's visibility on, look, a lot of stuff's on social media. Is that true? We'll try to verify it. Yeah. We deal a lot with agents, right? The enforcement piece, I believe it will come. It will happen. Everybody over the last 5 years, and if they're sort of breaking rules, maybe they're not published yet, but they're sort of in a gray area, they're the same ones who said, give us clarity, give us rules. We want enforcement.
Yeah.
And if you're leaning into the opposite, then why did we settle the House case settlement? We settled it for clarity. We will have clarity. It's bumpy. But, again, like I said, Ohio State will always be on the right side of all the equations, economically, competitively. We don't have to take shortcuts here because of who we are, but we also know that if we pivot, we'll pivot, right? If we need to be aggressive, we'll be aggressive. We're doing all those things. Look, part of this money right here will go to some NIL opportunities, right, that we're doing from training camp. So we're going to continue to lean in an aggressive manner.
Well, you're leading the way. I mean, we had your buddy Paul Feinbaum. We have him on every week, and I was describing everything that was happening here, and I asked him, because I told him last year when we had him on, I'm like, is anybody down there doing this? And he said, no, not yet. They're still kind of, it feels like they're kind of ahead of the game, and I think that they are. So that's the job, and you've done a masterful job in year one. I'll get you out of here on this one. Is there a personal moment or two over the last year that stand out to you away from the business? And because what you just described is throwing an infant into a deep end and seeing if we can swim. But just for you personally, a year on the job, is there something that stands out?
Look, getting to know the young people is just so special. Again, we can get caught up in all the money, and we're in a lot of meetings, and we're dealing with attorneys and all this stuff. Standing on the sideline at Michigan State, I'll try to tell this quick. So they always give us a visiting athletic director booth, right? And I always come down to the field, home or away, 10 minutes left in the game, 8 minutes left in the game. We had the game in hand, and I'm sitting there standing next to Jack and JT. And Jack was like, where have you been? What? Have you been down here the whole time? I'm like, no. I'm like, see that booth up there? They give us the booth up there. And he's like, really? They do that? Like, what? How's this work? And he goes, hey, is there cold beer up there? And I go,
question.
And I go,
love where his head's at.
And I go, yeah. He goes, did you have one? And I go, no, I don't drink during games. I said, hey, post-game celebration. And he goes, man, I would love to drink a beer at a football game. So,
that's so great.
I mean, it just shows you, these are young people, the innocence of it, the things that we do to develop them. I mean, I could give you lots of stories. Look, dealing with Nate, who is on our men's soccer team, after he was shot, after we advanced to the Final Four, being in the hospital with him and just, again, having him appreciate, you're there for them. Just moments like going up to athletes and saying, hey, that was a great play you made. And they were like, you noticed that? The connectivity with athletes, those are the things that stand out. Nate Demian got an award this summer, and he gave a great speech about overcoming being shot, and he's ready to play. He's going to be back on the team. And so just those student-athlete stories, Beau, really, really, really stand out for me. So.
Well, you've done a great job.
Thanks a lot.
Great talking to you as always.
We're still upside to grow, so we're going to keep engaging with the Buckeyes. So thank you guys so much.
Ross, thanks, man. Ross
Appreciate
Bjork,
you guys.
Athletic Director at Ohio State, joining us.